over the weekend, California passed legislation that will require public schools, public high schools and middle schools, to provide free tampons in their bathrooms. And unlike most things that come out of California, I actually agree with this one. I think it's a good idea. And let me explain to you why. But first, we'll start by figuring out what this bill does, even though it's pretty self-explanatory. So NPR points out that it builds on a 2017 law that required low-income schools to provide students with free menstrual products. Now, however, the law is expanded to include grades 6 through 12, as well as community colleges and universities within California. And this will start in 2023. The reason for this, as given by Democratic Assemblywoman Cristina Garcia, the one who wrote this legislation, she said that just as toilet paper and paper towels are provided in virtually every public bathroom, so should menstrual products. And I think that reasoning is pretty solid here. It is certainly the case that when you are in any public bathroom, you go there and they are going to have toilet paper and hopefully paper towels. Sometimes they run out, but the expectation is that they're there because you are using a public bathroom in this kind of a necessity. And I feel like, especially in public schools with young women who are just starting to get their periods, having menstrual products is certainly also a necessity. And I honestly don't think it's going to be that expensive to implement either. And sure, there will certainly be students who try to abuse the system and maybe they'll stockpile them for some weird reason if you want 1 million tampons. But the fact of the matter is, I think it's a good idea and it'll help young teenagers who are going through a very difficult time in their lives, especially when they first start to have periods. It'll alleviate some of their anxiety or unease around that situation. So for that reason, I am in favor of this legislation. I think there's much more positive than there is negative surrounding it. Now, obviously, there's more to the video because I'm not just going to say I agree with this bill and end it right there. What I want to do now is highlight some of the more ridiculous comments that I saw on Facebook when I first saw this article. So make sure you stick around because I'm saving the best comment for last, even though they're all pretty good comments. And when I say good, I don't mean they're actually good. I mean they're so bad, like Sharknado, that they're kind of good. And if nothing else, they're amusing. Let's jump right in. So here we have the first comment, where someone is saying that we should add condoms, meaning that public schools should provide free condoms to students. Now, to be fair, there are schools that already do this. But I think it's really messed up trying to equate a condom with a tampon. Because in case this person didn't know, having sex is a voluntary thing. You choose to have sex, and so you choose to use a condom. However, women and teenage girls, they don't choose to have their periods. They can't control it. So trying to say that, having free tampons is a good idea, we should also have free condoms so that teenagers and as young as 8th graders, I guess, can have sex. No, that's not the same thing. I have said multiple times, and I stand by this, that I do not think it's the government's responsibility to subsidize your sex life. I don't care how old you are, it's not their, and by extension, my responsibility to do that. And I said, I recognize there are schools that already do this. At my university, for example, which is publicly funded, I can go to the gym and just grab handfuls of condoms if I really wanted to. But that is different, very different from providing free menstrual products. So let's not try to equate condoms and tampons. Not the same thing. We also have someone bringing up urinals, of all things, saying that I always hear people complain that schools will be paying for something that only girls will use. But boys' bathrooms have urinals. They're only used by boys and they're not necessary. Now, I will concede that urinals aren't necessary, I guess, in the strictest sense, but there are a number of reasons why public bathrooms tend to use them. First and foremost, they actually save a lot of water. When you flush a urinal, it uses significantly less water than a standard toilet does. And also, it allows the lines in the men's bathrooms to go quite a bit faster because it's a lot faster to use a urinal than it is to use stalls, and you can have more of them. So I suppose that, yes, it's true, only boys use urinals. So I guess my point is that this is a bad comparison. You can support having free tampons without trying to equate it to only boys are using urinals in their bathrooms because it's a false equivalence. It doesn't make any sense. And now we have this comment. someone who apparently has a Turkish friend who believes that we live in a third world country. And this person goes on this monologue talking about how she has tried to have all of this dental work done and called every local clinic in the morning and couldn't get on, and that lots of people in random Duluth, Minnesota can die from dental problems because local dentists won't help them, they won't accept Medicare. So basically, she is using this opportunity to rant about the dental system in her town in Minnesota, even though it's in no way relevant to tampons at all. But that's what happens on social media. And last but certainly not least, you knew we were going to get someone like this, saying that terms like feminine hygiene products are not inclusive. Some NBs, non-binaries, boys and men menstruate, while not all non-binaries, girls, and women are able to menstruate. And I don't know why they included non-binary in both of those categories. Doesn't make a ton of sense, but I digress. They said that these gendered, non-inclusive terms are extremely harmful to the members of the 2S LGBTQIAA+ community and contribute to extremely high depression, self-harm, and unalive rates. When I first read this comment, I assumed that this person was a troll, because this is the epitome of what a right-wing troll would say on something like this. But I don't think that's the case, to be honest. What kind of cemented that for me is looking at how they used the LGBT acronym, and it's expanded. I didn't know what some of those things meant, so I looked it up. So according to the Office for Institutional Equity at Duke, because that's something very important to talk about, they have the entire acronym here, where it's LGBTQ/QIP2SAA. And it stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, questioning, queer, intersex, pansexual, two-spirit, that's the 2S, androgynous, and asexual. So comparing this to the comment that we just saw, they have the same terms, just reordered a little bit. They apparently did forget pansexuals, so that's very non-inclusive. I can't believe they would do that. But because it's an accurate representation of what the acronym is supposed to be now currently, I think they're not a troll. And to be honest, it's a little bit depressing that in today's society, I can't look at a post like this and say immediately they're a troll, because there are people who genuinely believe this stuff. Because instead of calling them tampons and pads, if you use the blanket feminine hygiene products, that term is so offensive, you are literally contributing to the high unalive rates of the LGBTQAAI2S community. And this is ridiculous. If you are that offended by a term, you are the one who has a problem, not the person using the term feminine hygiene products. So this comment, I think, is the most ridiculous out of all of them for that reason. So I guess my point here is that even with a bill that I agree with, and all of the commenters who I talked about also agreed with, we still have fundamental disagreements on a number of things. Like trying to equate tampons with condoms and talking about the dental procedures in Minnesota and saying that feminine hygiene products is offensive and we shouldn't use that term. Why can't we just look at a bill that we all agree with and say this is a good idea and move on? That just exemplifies how divisive everything is. I would argue that most people would probably be in favor of this bill, but again, that doesn't stop people in the comments from fighting it out and trying to make it about something else, I guess. So I just wanted to highlight some of those comments because I found them quite amusing. Let me know what you think about them. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.